with the weapon by my side, all China bow before me.
He's smart, he's tactical, and he dresses like a king.
How dare you! That is the finest silk in the province!
But beneath all that elegant intellect, this peacock is utterly unhinged. Shen isn't just another cartoon bad guy. He's a masterclass in sociopathic writing. Paired with Gary Oldman's chilling performance, he's one of DreamWorks' most hauntingly beautiful characters. To this day, fans continue to debate over the purity of his evil. The truth is that when you look closer, you have an epiphany. Not only is Shen's evil as flawless as his aristocratic robes, the character is also incredibly complex. He's not just a simple black and white villain, regardless of what his tail feathers would have you believe. So how do you create a villain like this? One who charms, terrifies, and makes the hero doubt himself without ever lifting a feather?
I think it's a guy, he's gotta be— Whoa! The only reason you're still alive is that I find your stupidity mildly amusing.
Okay, maybe he did do that, but the secret sauce to this sociopathic villain isn't contained by his fighting style, it's something else. Today we're slicing open the quiet madness behind Lord Shen and showing how to write your own unforgettable sociopathic villain. I've dedicated an entire section to that, but there's also a whole bunch of other aspects to this villain as well that we'll explore in details as excruciating as his villainy. Feathers will fly, let's begin.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Now we've got the pleasantries out of the way, please leave my house.
What makes a sociopath such a great big bad? Why should you opt for this antagonist as compared to, let's say, a megalomaniac, trickster, or a straight-up monster? Well, here's the thing. A sociopath is all of these things, but they know how to blend in. They're not snarling beasts or chaotic clowns, they're precise, charming, calculated. They walk into the room with a smile, and by the time you realize what they've taken from you, it's already too late. Unlike megalomaniacs who scream for their power, sociopathic villains whisper it. This is precisely what makes them so formidable, the fact that they can send shivers down your spine without even using their vocal cords. A trickster lives to disrupt, the monster wants to devour, but a sociopath? They'll want to reshape the world in their image, and they'll go to any length to do so without breaking a sweat. That subtlety, that psychological edge is exactly what makes them so haunting. You're not just watching a villain do bad things, you're watching them rewrite morality in real time and almost convincing you they're right. Sociopathic villains don't just challenge your hero's strength, they challenge their very soul. But how exactly do they become such a force of evil?
But their son, Lord Shen, saw darker power in the fireworks.
Let's do a quick recap of the story. Lord Shen, heir to the noble peacock family that ruined Gongman City, was promised the throne, but he had other interests. While studying fireworks, he learned that they could do more than dazzle, they could destroy. Then came the prophecy. A soothsayer foretold that his dark interest was destructive and that he would be defeated by a warrior.
Is defeated by a warrior of black and white. Nothing has changed.
So Lord Shen went ahead and committed mass genocide, but when his parents didn't pat him on his back for it, he grew spiteful rather than sorry. See, sociopaths never see themselves as villains. Their backstory is a weapon. It's not trauma. It's a catalyst. Their origins aren't designed to gain sympathy. They don't lay grounds for the character's redemption. All it's supposed to do is fuel their ideology, justify it, make them feel entitled to the baddest, most villainous things, and not even feel a hint of remorse. And that's exactly what makes them so cold and unfeeling. Shen's trauma, his parents rejecting him for being evil, made him pity himself. It only made him double down on his evil plans. But the reason this backstory is so beautiful is that it only makes us see how fractured he is. So fractured, in fact, that he stays unbothered even when his parents die of heartbreak because of him. Shen's past isn't a scar, it's a mirror, shattered and sharpened into weapons. Let's trace its edges. A sociopath isn't just batshit crazy, they're also deeply strategic. Their mind doesn't run on empathy or conscience, it runs on ruthless self-preservation. That's what makes them so chilling to write and so compelling to watch. Lord Shen isn't unhinged in the chaotic Joker type of way. He's calm, he's composed, and he's regal. Every word and every moment feels deliberate. Beneath that porcelain white grace though, there is a fragile ego and a deeply rooted obsession with control. He believes that he's entitled to the things that he wants regardless of the means that he adopts to achieve them. Interestingly, he's hyper-rational, but only in the service of his own delusion. He doesn't crave blood for the thrill. He rationalizes genocide as a necessary measure. As far as he's concerned, he's restoring order, securing his destiny, and thwarting threats before they even hatch. In his mind, he's not the villain. He's the visionary, the savior avant-garde. Not only does he think that blasting an entire country is the right move, he also believes that he is the only one who knows what must be done. But the kicker is that cold, ruthless logic, it's just masking his insecurity. Shen's fear of the prophecy, of being defeated by a warrior of black and white, drives him into overkill. His entire empire of cannons and warships is, at its core, a defense mechanism. Not just from the fear of failure, but also from the scar of rejection. So behind that razor-sharp beak is a firework-laden trauma response. It looks theatrical, but it's rooted in something deeper, his fatal flaw. We'll get into that. For now, let's discuss the fact that Shen's sociopathic traits don't stop there. To write a villain like Shen, you must build the 3 core behaviors that sociopaths are known for. For one, gaslighting. Sociopaths are known to manipulate others' sense of reality. They'll dismiss valid emotions, mock fear, or dismiss other people's truth. Shen does this quite smugly with Poe a few times.
Who do you think you are, Panda?
He's not just using intimidation, he's conducting full-blown mental warfare. Shen is asserting superiority over Poe's very being. In the same vein, he also tries to manipulate Poe.
Well, here's your answer. Your parents didn't love you.
Next up, there's charm. Sociopaths are often witty, eloquent, even magnetic, and Lord Shen is all of these things. He wears his intelligence like a designer cloak. It's wrapped carefully around his sophisticated tyranny. When you look at him, you don't see brute force, you see theatricality, but performed with deliberate sophistication. Every word is sharp, every move calculated. But all of this makes his evil scarier, because you definitely like seeing him on screen and you almost want to give in. Lastly, and this ties into the charm, is detachment. Sociopaths are emotionally numb. This peacock orchestrated an entire genocide and felt jack. There's no flinch, no guilt, and he doesn't even gloat. That's what makes him so unnerving. All he's doing is a cold, methodical execution of what must be done. The whole thing gives you Dexter vibes. He doesn't kill because he hates, he does so because it's logical. It's hard to trace the roots of his collapse, but when we get to his collapse, you'll see what I'm thinking. But what does a feathered bird with a god complex and weapons lab really want? Let's find out.
30 years I've waited for this moment. Everything must be exactly how I envisioned it.
Some villains just want to see the world burn, but sociopaths, they want to own the ashes. A sociopathic villain exists only to instate a world order that he sees fit. In the case of Lord Shen, I think that he believed Kung Fu was dated and that he could revolutionize the art of war through fireworks dressed as cannonballs. While evolution is actually a good thing, the reason it was so sinister here is that Shen wanted to be in control of the whole thing. Outwardly, the reasons are clear. Facing rejection from his family and being disinherited from the throne bruised his ego. Looking closer, however, we see something else. Shen wanted to own the throne not because he believed it was his God-given right to do so, but because he feared oblivion. In my opinion, he had this one idea: without power, me, the fallen peacock, will be nothing. This fear of erasure, a common sociopathic belief, caused him to descend into Machiavellian madness. Not only did he execute mass ethnic cleansing and attempt to erase an entire art form, he also got rid of his ancestral home.
You just destroyed your ancestral home, Shen.
A trivial sacrifice, when all of China is my reward.
This guy was ready to burn down all of China if that was what it took to get what he wanted. Shen didn't want to be a warlord, he wanted to be the opposite of what he feared he would be: nothing. As with every tyrant obsessed with control, the very thing Shen feared became the thing that brought him down. As promised, I'll get into the rest of his core flaws here. Near the end of the film, Lord Shen is killed by being hit by a mast. Seriously, that's all it took to get rid of this psychopathic, terrifying old bird. After all the bloodshed, cannon fire, and deeply unsettling manipulative monologues, you'd expect that he'd go out in a blaze of peacock glory, but no. He's crushed by a falling mast. But here's the thing, the more you think about it, the more you realize that this ending wasn't random at all. We all know that his downfall was predestined. I mean, the GOAT had been talking about it repeatedly ever since the movie began. But when you look at it from the writer's perspective, and mine, you'll see that Shen's downfall was pre-written into his very character. It's not because he was trying to erase Kung Fu in a literal film series about Kung Fu. I mean, for real, if they'd done that, how would production have milked this enterprise for another 4 movies? The reason the Peacock is a masterclass in writing a sociopathic antagonist is that his downfall boils down to 3 core personality traits. For one, he's ruthlessly opposed to uncertainty. From the moment Shen hears the prophecy, the warrior of black and white, he becomes obsessed with controlling fate. It's funny how that bit was the exact antithesis of the entire film and everything that Poe was trying to learn. But anyhow, fate, by its very nature, is unpredictable. If Shen had decided to adapt or accept it, he would have perhaps been a military chief. Instead, he opted for total domination. In a way, he didn't just wage war on fate, but rather on the very concept of the unknown. Long story short, he's a very, very anxious peacock, rigid actually, but rigid things snap, and that is the very thing that guarantees his downfall. Poe, on the other hand, is flexible. Not that that matters to Shen though. Even seconds before his death, he refuses to learn from the panda.
Why aren't we firing?
They're taking out our gunners, sir! They're getting close!
And then there's this. Shen had been so obsessed with his pursuit of power and building a massive cannon that he skimped on actually acquiring military prowess, grandeur, +1 war skills. Not so much. This points to his second core flaw, the self-obsession that eventually defeats him. He's so focused on painting the world red in the image of the eyes on his tail that he forgets to account for internal collapse. This is a mistake that costs him dearly. Sure, he does manage to take down most of Poe and his clan, but when he's faced with Poe alone, that's where things get tough, all because of his third and perhaps most significant core flaw, blind aversion to self-reflection. Earlier on in this video, I mentioned that Shen believes he's in the right. I mean, we all do on some level, most of the time, but for sociopaths, this magnified to extreme proportions.
Do you actually believe this is the warrior destined to defeat me?
Shen believes that he's the smartest person in the room. He refuses to look inward when the soothsaying goat or sheep, whatever she is, urges him to deliberate. He fires her. Plus, there's this thing.
How did you find peace? I took away your parents. Everything.
When Shen sees someone who's dealt with pain without turning into a monster, his mind goes, error 404 cannot compute. He simply cannot understand how pain can actually be processed or transmuted. That, in and of itself, is a death sentence. When you look at Lord Shen in this way, it seems as though the writers put in a lot of work to make the peacock happen, but it doesn't have to be so complex. What if I told you that I could guide you on creating a character just like Shen in 6 simple steps? Sounds good? Let's get into it. Step 1. Etch out their core personality traits. A sociopath will always be icy on the surface and masking cold brutality within. Donned under feathers of grace and sophistication, you'll only find ruthless barbarity. Step 2. Weave their bloodlust into their backstories. A sociopathic villain's past must be full of atrocities. If you don't do that like Disney did with Prince Hans, then you risk making the character feel flat. Step 3. Plant them in their own calculating dystopia. Throughout the film, Shen is positioned in hues of black and red, demonstrating that he lives very much in his head and operates solely from his own delusions. Step 4. Make their every move evocative of the madness within. Shen orders mass looting to acquire steel so he can wear shinier claw grips. Just kidding, it's for the weapon, but we can viscerally feel his evil every time he's referenced or makes an appearance. This is what you're aiming for. Step 5. If you want to amp your villain up a notch, it might be a good idea to magnify their superiority complex.
The only reason you're still alive is that I find your stupidity mildly amusing.
Moments like these echo throughout the pure evil trope, with Disney villains exclaiming imbeciles and calling others idiots with a disapproving nose turn. Step 6. Wrap them in self-defeat. A sociopathic villain ideally gets rid of themselves. The reason this trope works so well is because it sets a clear contrast between villainous motivation and the powers of good. That's especially good for a G-rated film, particularly an animation made for children. Let's be fair though, without Lord Shen, Po would have never ended up in the radish crate. He would have never have been taken in by Mr. Ping, and he would have never become the Dragon Warrior. Guess fate really does work in mysterious ways, huh? But that, my friends, is step number 7. Your villain's action must impact the whole arc of the story. That's what makes them unforgettable. If there's one thing Lord Shen proves, it's that the best villains aren't necessarily the loudest or bloodiest. They're the ones who use elegance as armor and intellect as a weapon. Write them right, and your audience won't just remember your villain, they'll fear them.